Perhaps you're a housewife, or a successful businessman, or an up-and-coming star in your chosen career. What does it matter to you whether the Bible is what it claims to be? Well, Jesus Christ once asked a similar question that is very closely related. What does a man profit if he gains the whole world and yet loses his soul? In other words, take some time out from the rat race you're running. Slow down a little bit and think about it. Is it worth throwing away all of eternity for 70 or 80 years of doing whatever you want? Let me illustrate the point by giving you a little perspective. Mark Cuban, the founder of Broadcast.com, is now an extremely wealthy man, self-made. He achieved what many wish they could, a billionaire with the freedom to do basically whatever he wants and to buy whatever he wants, like a multi-million-dollar mansion in Dallas, Texas, and a $41 million plane, a Gulfstream 5 he bought off the internet, the largest online purchase in history. He also bought the Dallas Mavericks basketball team for $280 million. This is what he had to say about his life in an interview with ABC News 2020.
In some ways, do you feel he who dies with the most toys wins?
He who dies with the life they wanted wins. That's all. Have I made myself and people around me happy along the way? So when it's all said and done, you know, if on my epitaph there's just a smiley face, I'm good to go.
Now that's a pretty amazing story. From all appearances, Mark Cuban has the world on a string. But once again, Jesus Christ's 2,000-year-old question comes to mind. What does a man profit if he gains the whole world and yet loses his soul? So let's take the success that Mark Cuban experienced one step further. Let's add to it all the wealth of the men whose names appear on the screen. Each of them are listed with their current net worth at the time this program was being produced, and they represent the 10 wealthiest men in the world. Let's add to that the political power of the President of the United States, the British Prime Minister, the President of France, the German Chancellor, and the Chinese Premier. You may be thinking, if I had that kind of political clout and money, I'd be pretty happy. And you might be thinking, the only thing that could diminish that happiness would be not having the time to enjoy it. Well, let's say you've got a lot of time. How much? Well, let's say each grain of sand in this hourglass represents 1,000 years, and you could live in utter happiness for that entire time. Which would be better? To have the collective wealth and power of all of those people combined, along with every other happiness life could offer, during the entire time that each grain of 1,000 years passed away, and yet miserable forever after? Or to be miserable while each grain of 1,000 years passed away and happy 1,000,000-fold beyond what this life could offer forever after? Anyone with common sense wouldn't hesitate for a moment in answering, because it's obvious that even all of those grains of sand, each one representing 1,000 years, cover infinitely less time than all of eternity, which is time without end. So even if you could argue that a life of living whatever way you wanted is the most enjoyable way of life, and even if you could enjoy those pleasures for 1,000,000 years, only a fool would choose the 1,000,000 years over eternal happiness. Because wealth and pleasure don't bring happiness. And if you ask most of the wealthy people in the world, you might find they aren't happy. They may tell you their money and pleasures bring them happiness, but deep down inside, when they're alone, they may find that they're miserable and searching for the real meaning to life. Because material wealth doesn't bring happiness and deep lasting peace. Unlimited pleasures don't bring happiness either, because man was designed to need God. Searching for happiness in the physical world won't fill that need you were created with. Only God can fill that need. So despite Mark Cuban's probably well-intentioned statement, dying with a smiley face is not the objective of life. In fact, if you could follow Mark Cuban's life until its end, one thing would be certain. If he lives it apart from a biblical, God-centered life, it will be void of any real substantive joy, peace, love, and satisfaction. Because the reality is, a life that is lived according to what is written in the Bible actually brings the greatest possible happiness. And a life that consists of following your own desires and ideas, ultimately, without exception, breeds misery. Added to that, no one is guaranteed even one day, much less 1,000,000 years. So who would cast away his eternal soul for this short and uncertain life, even if he could gain the whole world, which no one ever has? Does it matter what the Bible is and what the Bible says? I think even that brief illustration proves the point. If eternity is at stake, and it is, then the answer is an unqualified, infinite yes. Yes, it does matter. In fact, it more than matters. It's everything. If the Bible is what it claims to be, a book that God Himself has authored to reveal Himself to the people He has created, then the quality of our life now and for all eternity depends on what is written in that book. What's more, heaven and hell weigh in the balance. Life eternal, either unlimited paradise or unlimited pain.